Hey guys, welcome to another speed build. I hope you're all having a great day. Happy 4th of July to all of my fellow Americans out there. I really wanted to build something for the 4th of July today, and I thought the perfect thing would be to do like a traditional American style home, not one of those super big fancy ones like I usually do on this channel, but a home that you would see in most neighborhoods here in the US. At least here in Florida, in Central Florida where I'm from, we see a lot of single-story houses similar to this one, where you have a garage on one side and typically that pokes out a little bit further than the front door, and then you have a little skinny sidewalk leading from the driveway to the front door, and then an additional side of the house on the other side of the door. And then it's only a single story house. That is the typical house here in Central Florida. There's obviously two-story houses, but they're more in the quote unquote fancier neighborhoods. Few and far between will you have a two-story house in like, a regular neighborhood. For lack of better words, I guess. But literally everybody I know personally, they live in single-story houses, so it's just what is most common where I'm from. But I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Of course, if you do enjoy it, consider leaving a like and also subscribing if you have not already, and feel free to leave a comment down below of what your favorite part of today's build is. I love to read your comments. I don't have a lot of time currently to respond to a lot of them, but I do read them and I really enjoy reading them, so definitely feel free to leave some. So there were a few features that I knew I wanted to include on this house before I even began building. One of them being, obviously, a single story house, but other than that, I really wanted to have a basketball hoop in the front yard, and I have it more towards the street. I feel like that's more realistic than having it over the garage. In this house, I actually have a car inside of the garage. I really wanted it to look like the family uses it for what it's supposed to be used for, which is for cars. So we have the family car outside, the one that they don't really care about getting messed up. It probably has some scratches already. They basically raised their family in this car. But on the inside, they have a nicer car. It's more of like a Mustang looking car with a convertible top that they probably just use for special occasions, maybe for like date night or something. I thought that was a cute little idea. And some other features I really wanted to include on this house was obviously one of the most stereotypical American things is to have a white picket fence. And so I made sure to include that. I have like a decorative one in the front yard that's literally just for show, like it's just to look cute, okay? But we have the backyard surrounded by the white picket fence. Like, instead of doing a white privacy fence, I just thought it was such an American thing to do a white picket fence. It just, that's like the gold standard. Everyone's American dream is to have a white picket fence, right? At least that's what they tell us. I do think white picket fences are super cute though, so I'm definitely not mad about it. This one is from Backyard Stuff, and it's one of my favorite fences in the game. I just think it is so cute. It comes with like a single tile gate, which is perfect for what I needed it for this build. On both sides of the driveway, I have two different sidewalks. One is leading to the front door and the other side is leading to the backyard. They are both only a single tile sidewalk, so having a single tile gate was literally perfect. I love when things work out that way, Like, if I would have used the white privacy fence, that's a 2-tile wide gate, so it would not have worked out the way I really wanted it to. And before I forget, I just want to mention the fact that I thought it was such an American thing to put a little dog bone welcome mat in front of the front door. I think that is so adorable. And, it's just obvious that they have pets in this house. I don't know. I thought it fit the vibe. But another thing, and probably the last thing I knew I really, really had to have in this build, was an above ground pool in the backyard, which obviously is a little bit different than real life above ground pools, let's be honest, but it does have the look of an above ground pool. They just can't touch the bottom, But I do think it turned out so cute. I think that is a huge American thing to have. A lot of Americans, they don't have in-ground pools, even though we all would love to have one, but they are so expensive that if your house doesn't come with one already, chances are you probably will never have one, you know? So to get around that, if you want to have a pool, then a lot of people will have above ground pools instead. And some people even prefer above ground pools because they're just a lot less maintenance and a lot cheaper. So I did make sure to include an above ground pool in the backyard. I did do a square one, and there are, in fact, square above ground pools in real life. I debated between having a square one or having like an oval shaped one or a circular one, and I'm sure we all know that the typical above ground pool is like blue and round, you know, but the round one just wasn't gonna fit perfectly where I wanted it to, and so I decided to do a rectangular shaped one instead. And there are blue rectangular ones, but as far as I have noticed, a lot of the rectangular above ground pools are gray for some reason. I guess it's just a particular brand, and so that is what I made this one in this backyard. I just made it gray, but I will talk more about it here in just a moment when I actually get in the backyard and start to build it. But I do think it turned out so good. And other than that, in the backyard, I also included a swing set and one of those standalone slides. And of course, it would not be a build of mine if I did not include fairy lights in the backyard, because I just can't help myself. I think they're so cute. Oh, and I also included a little toddler pool right next to the above ground pool so that the toddler can enjoy some summertime activities too. They cannot go in the normal pools, unfortunately, but they can in fact go inside of their little toddler pools, so at least they have something. We also have a cute little blue grill out there and an umbrella table and chair set. We have a little toy box for the dog, and I just tried to make it look as cute as possible, and I also tried to make it look, you know, as realistic and American as possible, because that is the theme for today's build. I also tried to make the landscaping as minimal as possible, with it also still looking nice. I tried to think of how the landscaping would look in real life, and so you'll see here in just a little bit once I finish the landscaping. It's not too overgrown looking like I usually make it here in The Sims, and it's spread out pretty nicely too. It's not too much, but we still have enough to make it look decorative. Like, I didn't want it to look too plain, which I know is more realistic. A lot of people just have like hedgerow bushes and that's really about it, with some trees here and there, but I wanted it to at least look nice, you know? So a little detail that I really enjoyed with this build is the fact that it's up on one platform, right? Like just one little tile of foundation, I guess. In the front yard, you just step up one time to get to the front door. That's pretty common here in the US. And then in the backyard, that's not too uncommon, but it's not that common at the same time. But I have seen it before. I actually have an additional platform on the inside of the build. And so once you get to the back porch, it is actually 2 steps up instead of just the one because of the additional platform on the inside. And so even though you don't have a staircase in the front yard because it's not needed, you do have one in the backyard. And I just loved that little difference in detail. It makes it seem like the build is kind of built off level even though it's not, you know? Which then makes it seem more realistic. And I usually do a wooden staircase and a wooden back porch when that really doesn't make sense when you think about it. Like, if the foundation is concrete and it's like a block house or a brick house, having a wooden porch is not very common, at least where I'm from, and we typically have concrete porches instead. And so that is what I did, not only in the front yard where the front door is, but also here in the backyard. And I have a concrete staircase leading down to an additional little porch area where I have the umbrella table and chair set, plus the grill. I do change that grill to a cuter one though, like the little tiny blue one, you know, the cheaper kind. But I am now adding the little bits and pieces in the backyard. So I have the above ground pool completely built. It pretty much doesn't change from here. I do change the inside walls though. Like I change it to a tile, but I chose the tile that mimics a real life above ground pool. And you'll probably see what I mean once I get there. I don't do that until a little bit later. It has like the different colored blue squares, and I don't know, I thought that was such a nice touch because it just made it look like, you know, a real life one. But you know how above ground pools, there's usually a ladder leading from the outside to the inside. And I tried to mimic that in this build. And by doing so, I just made an additional platform leading off the side of the pool. And I made that platform, instead of doing it a solid like foundation like I did the pool, I used the pier kind instead that had the little columns. I forget what you call that, to be totally honest. I'm having a complete brain fart, but you guys know what I mean. The one that's actually see-through and has like columns holding it up. I chose to do that instead. I thought it made it look a little bit more realistic. And then I have a ladder leading up to that foundation, and then the pool ladder leading inside the pool. That is the best way I found to be able to do it. And then I know it's not a huge pool. I did, in fact, put a floaty in there. I just thought it looked cuter to dress it up a little bit more. Obviously, you can remove it if you don't want it in there. And then I added a little beach ball, which is actually a ball for a horse here in The Sims. It's not actually a beach ball. So probably once you download this and you actually play in it, you'll probably want to delete that unless you think it's cute and you have it for looks. But you could probably move it to the outside of the pool so that you still have it as decoration, but it's not taking up room inside of the pool, if that makes sense. Your Sims will probably swim through it though, if I'm being totally honest, because when you try to place it, it doesn't just place perfectly on top of the pool water. You have to shift it up using the keyboard to get it exactly where you want it to look, because typically it'll be at the bottom of the pool. One more thing about the backyard before we move on. A lot of the time in real life, when you have above ground pools, you try to have little stepping stones leading to the pool so that you don't get, you know, grass and dirt inside of the pool, because it's usually in the center of your backyard and you have grass or dirt surrounding it, and you don't want all that getting into your pool. So a lot of the time people will put stepping stones. And something else that's very common that I could not mimic here is having a little like bucket of water, especially if you have kids and have them like wash their feet off before they get inside of the pool. But I could not do that. I could add the stepping stones though. And so there's only like 3 stepping stones. I know it doesn't really make a lot of sense, but I just wanted it to look realistic. And so that is why I added those 3 stepping stones there, leading off of the very back porch where the table is. Instead of having just a grassy area filled with grass and dirt leading from the porch to the pool, I just add those stepping stones. I thought it looked cuter and more realistic. And I actually really love those stepping stones, so if I can find an excuse to use them, I will. But I took a break on the outside and I started to furnish the inside. I did cut out the last half of the floor plan just because it took me so long and a lot of trial and error to try to figure out how to make this area work. Like, where did I want the living room to be? Where was I going to put the dining table and chair set? Where was I going to put the kitchen? And so I ended up having to make the kitchen pretty small, but it still is functional at the end of the day. So that really is all that matters. I really wanted to add an island in here because I love to, but it is also realistic to have your dining table pretty much in the center of your kitchen anyways. I've seen that in a lot of houses. My grandma's house is that way. And then you have the living room off to the side. Like, it's a completely open floor plan in this main living area, but I think I did a good job finally laying it out. So since it was so much trial and error, it was just better for me to cut that part out. It was really not necessary for you guys to see. But I'm using these new couches we recently got for free from the marketplace. So they're basically base game now. And I chose this like pinkish color, which I haven't done this color yet. I usually do the beige, but there's so much beige going on in this house that The beige couches would have just been too much at that point. And I didn't really like the tone of blue these couches come in. They're a little bit too bright for this build. And the green, I don't know, the best color I could come up with was this like pinkish color. And so that's what we ended up doing. We have the two couches, we have the coffee table. I did like a glass coffee table, and I added a light with a ceiling fan as well, because the ceiling fans, I mean, what house does not have ceiling fans? I mean, come on. And then we have a little grabby mat in the corner for the infant. And actually, on that note, I never did mention the kinds of Sims I imagined to live in this house. So it ended up being a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom. I would have loved to have had an extra bathroom for the master bedroom, but it just did not work out that way. The house was too small, and I wanted it to be at least 3 bedrooms. That's like the typical house here in Florida, or here in America, I guess, is a 3-bedroom, typically 2-bathroom, but 1 is common as well. So we have the master with the bathroom next to it, and then we have 2 additional rooms for each of the kids. I figured the typical like American dream, like the perfect American family, I guess, quote unquote perfect, because what is perfect? But you guys know what I mean. The typical like American dream for a family would be to have 2 parents and then 2 kids, probably 1 of each gender. And so that is what I ended up putting in each of the rooms. 1 is a girl, 1 is a boy. And I also have 2 pet bowls right next to the like kitchen area, and 1 is for a dog and 1 is for a cat. Obviously you could have whatever animals, whatever, you know, kinds of kids you want in the house. You could have no kids, it's really up to you, but this is what I chose to furnish it for. And I thought it was perfect to have like 1 of each pet too, like 1 cat and 1 dog. So we also have a little scratching post in the living room as well, right next to the infant's grabby mat. And I put a cat tree in the hallway and a litter box in the parents' room. And then for the dog, dogs are pretty much like easy in The Sims. You really don't have to add much for them, as long as they have a food bowl and a couch to sleep on. And then like a toy box, that's really all they need. So the toy box I end up putting in the backyard. On the end table in between both couches, I put a lamp, and something I've been loving to do lately is putting the lamp off to the corner of the end table, and also adding a digital picture frame with a little plant. And I also added a remote there too. It just makes it look a little bit more decorated and a little bit more realistic too, other than having just a lamp there. I mean, some people like me, I have just a lamp on my end table in my living room, but a lot of like family houses, especially if you have like kids and pets and just a lot of people living in the house, it looks a little bit more cluttered, and you have more than just a lamp on the end table. So that's what I tried to portray here in this build, and it just makes it look super cute too. And the only place I could fit a computer desk was in this little corner right here, right next to the hallway, or right next to the archway that leads to the hallway, right next to the dining table. It's really not ideal, to be totally honest, but it literally was the only place I could fit it, so that's where I put it. There's no other computers in the house, so this is like the family computer, and this is the new computer we recently got in a free marketplace drop as well. They've been releasing a lot of pretty good free stuff, and I've been loving it lately. And so this computer is like one of my new favorites, if not my new favorite. It looks like a MacBook computer, or maybe just like a Mac, not really a MacBook, I guess. But yeah, I just love it. It has like really cute color swatches, and it just is really nice looking and very refreshing to have a new type of computer in the game too. So in the front foyer, I ended up putting some tile. I just thought it broke up all of the wood a little bit and looked really nice. I have a little ottoman there with some mirrors above it. We have a security alarm, and I ended up putting the thermostat above that. I don't know. I didn't know what else to put above the security alarm, and so the thermostat was just like the thing to do. And then we have a coat rack, we have a little umbrella station where you put your wet umbrellas. I have some shoes there to make it look like, the parents make their kids take off their shoes before they come in. I just tried to make it look pretty realistic and cute. And I didn't really talk about the kitchen much because there's not a lot going on. It's very small, but I did have all of the necessities in there. We have a fridge, stove, sink, and then I ended up putting a microwave in there as well because that's like the typical appliance in the kitchen, like countertop appliance. Who does not own a microwave? Literally everybody I know has one. And when you have kids that can make their own quick meals, it is just so nice to have one. And right now, I don't have a high chair in the dining room, but I will put one here shortly. I just remove one of the dining chairs and I add the high chair there instead. We are in the parents' room. I cut out the hallway. It literally is a hallway. I do end up removing that big family picture frame that's there, and that is where I end up putting the cat tree instead. But in the parents' room, it's pretty self-explanatory. I have a bed with a couple of nightstands, lamps. I put a pretty picture above the bed, and then I have a couple of different dressers. I guess one is more of a closet, and I decided to put those closets in every single room. Those are the closets from Get Together, and a lot of houses in real life, including mine, they have literal closets. They don't have just dressers. And so that is the main reason why I ended up adding these closets in each of the rooms, is because of the realistic touch it has. And I just think it looks so cute too. I need to use these closets a lot more often than I do now. I honestly forget about them when I'm doing the floor plan. And then once it's time to do the bedroom, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense because you really need to think about it as you're doing the floor plan, But luckily I did think about it here in this floor plan, so I'm super happy about that. So other than the closet in the parents' room, there's also a dresser, which a lot of people do have both. And I really just didn't really know what else to put there. I knew I wanted to have a TV in their room, and I wanted to have like a makeup bag for the mom and some other little clutter items. And so I ended up putting a dresser there. And then next to the dresser, we have a little rocking chair, and I put a little knitting bag there. In order to use the knitting bag, you will have to place it in someone's inventory though, which is super easy. I really just put it there for decoration, to be totally honest. And then on the other side of the dresser, in between the dresser and the closet, that is where I end up putting the litter box. It was like an afterthought, to be totally honest. I didn't know where else to put it. So that was like the best and only place I had. But we are finishing up the infant's room now. I'm using this super, super cute wallpaper from one of the kids. It's the kid that Plumbella did. I can never, for the life of me, remember the name of the kid, but it is super, super cute. I love this wallpaper. And we have the crib, we have the changing table. I have a pink dollhouse, like the castle kind, and we have some blocks in there. And that's pretty much it for the infant's room. They're pretty, self-explanatory. There's not a whole lot going on in any infant's room, but I always try to make it look as cute as possible. I do have her room on a little bit of a platform. You could totally remove that if you don't want it there. Like once the infant ages up to a child and you need extra space, you might need to delete the platform. But in the way that I decorated the infant's room, I thought it looked so much cuter with the platform. It gave it a little bit more detail, I guess. It was a little bit of an odd shape, and so the way I did the platform just made sense. But we are now finishing up the child's room. Well, we're already done with the kids' room, actually. We have whatever you think a little boy would be interested in is what I tried to put in his room. It's not a very big room, so I had to pick and choose. But I have one of those clutter pieces from Parenthood. I originally thought it was from kids' room stuff, but it's actually from Parenthood. But it's like a book bag with the schoolwork all spread out. There's like a ball, there's random clothes, and I love adding those in my kids' rooms. And then we have the bed, obviously. Above the bed, I have a little shelf with trophies and medals. I figured this kid was super into sports, hence why there's a basketball hoop outside in the front yard. I have a couple of different balls in there as well. There's a soccer ball and a football. I have a mental table in there. You know, you need some sort of skill building item in every single kid's room, and the one I thought this kid would be most interested in would be the mental table. I don't really picture this kid being super into drawing and stuff. And then I have some like sports posters on the wall and just try to make it look very boyish and cute and realistic. Oh yeah, I swapped the door out from the plain version and switched it over to the version that is like decorated. I love those high school years doors, and I try to use them if I think about it, so I'm glad I remembered about it in this build. And that's it for his room. I mean, the kids' rooms both came together very quick. We are now in the bathroom, the one and only bathroom in the whole house. And so I have a shower tub combo in there. We have a toilet and a sink, obviously. I did include a toddler potty so that once the infant ages up, there is already a potty in there ready for her to be potty trained, and just some decorations trying to make it look super cute. I chose the shower tub combo from Parenthood that has like a shower curtain on it instead of the glass shower wall. I absolutely love that shower tub combo. I don't use it a lot just because there's not a whole lot of good swatches on the shower curtains, which is unfortunate. I like to make my own shower curtain if I can, but by doing so, I can only really make it into a shower. I've never tried to make my own shower tub combo. If you place a regular standalone bathtub and then you place the standalone shower from Discovery University on top of that, I wonder if it works. It could go, it's like 50-50. It really could go either way. Sometimes things work that is surprising. Like you wouldn't think it would work, but it does. So I actually need to test that out. And then I could put my own shower curtain there. So yeah, that is actually a good thought. I want to get in game now and go try it out. I always think of ideas when I'm watching my speed build over again and I'm doing the voiceover. I always think of things that I should have done or could have done, and then I forget about it. So I really need to like jot it down. But I got the garage done too. So in the garage, we not only have the car I was talking about, but I also included a laundry room in there as well. And I tried to think of different things people would have in their garage in real life. For example, I have the dog food bag and the cat food bag in there. I have a treadmill, and on the other side, I have a couple of storage boxes, and I also have a generator in there as well. Those are like super common things to have, storage boxes or even a generator, especially here in Florida where we have hurricanes and stuff. Having a generator is so nice just in case your power goes out. And I included some spider webs in there. I don't know if you guys noticed that or not, but I did put some spider webs on the storage boxes and the generator to make it look like it's been there unused for a little while. And I don't know, I just thought that was a super cute little detail. And last but not least, I came across it at the very last minute. It was when I was looking for the dog food bags and the cat food bags. But in Cats and Dogs, the expansion pack, they have little like Roombas, the little like vacuums that vacuum around the house. I totally forgot that those existed in The Sims. And if you have pets in The Sims, they are nice to have. Well, they're nice in real life too, for being totally honest. I'm so glad I got one. That was like the best purchase I've ever made, to be totally honest. But I forgot that they existed in The Sims, and so I never include them in my builds at all. So when I remembered about it for this build, I was so excited, especially since this is supposed to be like a realistic build. I ended up putting one in the living room. So it will not go in all of the house because of the platforms that I have. That's the one bad thing about the platforms, is you can't have the Roomba go everywhere, but it will be at least in the main part of the house, like where the living room is and the kitchen and stuff. And so it will clean up all of your pets and the kids' mess. So I just was so happy when I came across that. And that is it for the inside of the house. We are now finishing up the exterior, and I have the backyard pretty much done. So we have the above ground pool, we have the little porch area where the umbrella table and chair set is with the grill, and on top of the table I ended up putting a little picnic basket and a little set of plastic plates and spoons to make it look like they're ready for a barbecue or something. And then, of course, a citronella candle, because you cannot have an outside porch area without one of those, or else you're going to get bit up by mosquitoes. And honestly, if you're not like right next to that candle, then you're probably gonna get bit anyways. And I will end up adding that little toddler pool here in just a little bit. It's one of the last things I do. And yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed today's build. I think it turned out super cute, and as cute as I could have done for being realistic, or as realistic as I could. I know the backyard is a little bit on the smaller side, but I feel like that's pretty typical for like the typical American home anyways. The house is pretty much built in the very center, and then you have the front yard and the backyard pretty much the same size. The front yard might be a little bit bigger, but it is what it is. I fit what I could in the backyard, and for what I had to work with, I think I squeezed a pretty good amount of stuff in. But yeah, I really had so much fun building this for you guys and going over it with you guys. Of course, if you enjoyed it as well, consider leaving a like and also subscribing if you have not already, and leave your favorite part of today's build down in the comments below. Consider sharing this with your friends if they are simmers as well, and if you think that they would enjoy it. This is available to download on the gallery. You can see my gallery linked down in the description box, and it's also on my main YouTube profile as well. I hope you all have an amazing weekend hanging out with friends and family, and stay safe whether you are celebrating the 4th or not. I hope you all have a great one, and I'll see you in the next one very soon. Bye guys!